Hello everybody, Larry Young here again with another segment of OLaman Living Life with Purity. And today I want to have a little talk about accountability and what happens when people aren't accountable. And we just kind of say, oh, that's okay, you know, the heart was in the right place, that kind of stuff. Well, what happens if people aren't doing their job and being held accountable for the things that we're either paying them to do or have an expectation for them to do, or they said that they would do when they got the job? These are the types of things that can happen if people don't do what they say they were going to do or they were being hired to do. Lack of supervision, lack of keeping the people accountable. Got some bad stuff has happened here. So let's start off with our school system and the kids. Because if we don't start with the kids, we really don't know where our future is headed right now. And right now, our future is looking pretty dark in a lot of areas across the greater majority of our children in the school system. The results are in, and I've been talking about this for at least the last 2 years on here, and I've gotten blowback from some folks that say that I'm an idiot for talking about this stuff and things like that. But the results are in and the facts are here. Our kids are getting dumber and dumber by the year. And the test scores show this. Our SAT scores are coming down for the broader area. We still have our great scholars, you know, the kids who succeed, you know, at whatever happens. They're going to succeed anyway. You don't have to help them. They're just born that way. Their parents have inspired them. These kids are achievers. They don't really need teachers. They just need the books. And, you know, they do fine. It's the rest of them that are falling further and further off the scores. Case in point, right now we've got parents in some school systems are wanting to sue their educators because their children's SAT scores came back lower than they expected because the schools had said that their children were 4.0 students or better. And a 4.0 student in high school should be getting at least about a 1450 on an SAT exam, you would think, as a general rule. 1450, that's not perfect, but it's pretty damn good. And you would expect that out of your top of the class, your valedictorians or salutatorians, those type of kids. You'd expect that. But in a number of areas, these 4.0 students are coming back with scores below 1200. That's not good. That's about a C plus, maybe a B student. That's not your A or A plus student, as the school's test scores we're telling the parents all this time and telling this child all this time that, hey, you're a top-tier student, you know, keep going. You are honor roll. Well, according to the SATs and the standardized testing, they're not. And so who's to blame for this? Well, I'd say the blame is shared, and it can be shared across the platform here, not just with the educators for doing such a poor job. Many of them are probably also cuckolded in the fact that they can't do discipline in the classroom. They have unruly kids. I don't blame them. You know, I would quiet quit too if I was a teacher, but I don't know if I'd feel good about it. I wouldn't want to tell people what I did for a living. And I think they should be kind of shamed at this point, because too many of our educators and the people running the classrooms are just basically incompetent. You know, they may have tested out well before, but they can't teach, and the kids aren't learning, and they're passing them on through as part of a program to move people through the system and keep the money coming in. We've got to stop that. And we've got to start with our parents. Our parents aren't parenting. They are being friends with their kids and not parenting them hard enough. And this is because their parents didn't parent them hard enough. So it's been a slippery slope since the 1950s and 60s, when parents were trying to let their children have an easier ride through life because life was hard on their parents who came out of World War II and came out of the Korean conflict and then had to deal with Vietnam after that. They had a very hard time with managing, the income stream coming in, keeping businesses going, keeping their work life going, keeping the family going, and things like this. But they wanted to compete with the influences that were happening on the television, with the sitcoms, the traditional life that was being exhibited, how people are supposed to live, that was portrayed on the TV. And so many of our people in this country, in our culture, developed their thinking about what is normal from these television shows that were on TV, especially back in the 60s, 70s, and the 80s. It changed into the 90s, but the wholesomeness of family life and these other sorts of what we call examples that the TV people were putting out. This is how parents were thinking they needed to parent. And so many of those TV shows, if you go back and watch them, the father in the house was portrayed as being the imbecile. Mother had it all together. The kids were the smart ones. Dad was the idiot. And this is where the decline of the male in the modern family took root. And this is where they wanted to emasculate the American man, raise the woman up, with the National Organization of Women, the ERA. So men were the idiots. They were the nose pickers. The kids were the bright ones. They were the leaders. They were the future. And mom was the one who was aware and always brought sanity to the situation. And dad was always the foil. This is what was played out in the minds. And it actually then put the men out of the circle, and their influence then was diminished. And this is how we ended up with all these femboys and disabled children mentally that are going through our school system right now. Many of them became teachers. And so this is the product that's out there teaching your kids today. So you see where the rot started was way back then, and it's continuing now. And we need to get to the root of these things. And what we really need to do is we have to challenge the parents to be better parents, to be real parents, and to be disciplinarians in these things. We need for our school systems to hold children accountable as well. We can't be having these, hall pass type of thinking going on that they're just showing their identity and stuff like that. No, they need to know the damn education system. They need to know what's in the books. That's what they're paid to do, is to teach these kids what's in these books so they know what's going on and can get out there and try to give them some sort of idea about how we arrived at this position in our world. So history needs to be taught, but too many people teaching history don't know the history because they've only gotten a certain segment of it. They don't have the whole thing, so they don't have the context. And so this is what's going on. So we have ill-prepared people doing the teaching in too many instances. And the real culprit behind all of this and what led to this slippery slope of decline is all of us. We all sat on our ass and didn't do anything when we saw the craziness happening. Everyone sat there and said, oh, you can't say anything about that because that's Mrs. Wilson, and she's just a great teacher. She's always been there, always been wonderful. Well, Mrs. Wilson now is running around with green hair and a nose ring and lots of tattoos and causing a lot of the confusion in the classroom. Not the same Mrs. Wilson as we knew from years ago. So things change. We have to keep our finger on the pulse. We have to be accountable. We're going to lose these kids, and they're going to be so messed up. A lot of people want to blame the rot on the kids to be these. This is part of it, but this isn't the only problem. The real problem is no discipline in the homes, no fathers in the homes too many times, and that not only messes up our young men, but it's also messing up our young women, as I talked about in yesterday's podcast. So parenting, the core family, the mother, the father in the home, these are the things that are going to bring things back. but only if there's discipline and if there's accountability that starts in the home that carries that expectation out into the school zone, the workplace, all these things. This is where the healing begins, is at home, around the dinner table, if they're still having dinner together. So we got to bring that back too, because that's the company meeting, if you will, that has to happen in these families to make sure that everyone's on board, knows what's going on. They don't have to agree, but they have to know what's going on. And that family communication at the dinner table has always been the nexus of these things. We have to get back to that. So we got problems in our education system. We got problem in our culture, and I'll zero in on the sports because right now we got the Olympics going on. Well, in the last Olympics, the Summer Olympics, the Olympic officials allowed a grown man to beat the shit out of women in the boxing ring, letting this man, I think he was from Algeria, declare that he was a woman and had his hormone therapy going on, and that he was okay. Not even close. He's now admitted that he is a man and had been taking these treatments, but he knew it was wrong to be doing it. The Olympic people knew it was wrong, but anyone in the media or anywhere else who talked about these things and said, this is wrong. They were all called out as being phobes of some sort, and they were all told to shut up and that they're mean and that, this is well, it's not. It never was. And for people to have allowed this, it was nothing short of, in my mind, of being criminal assault. So I'm hoping that the women in the Olympics who came in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th all sue the hell out of the Olympic Committee and all of the media that put out all these disturbing messages and made them out to be the bad person in this thing. And especially like the fencing gal who quit and wouldn't fight against the male. She was the only sane one in the room, but they vilified her. Where is the justice? Where's the accountability? What's going to happen here? What's going to happen to these broadcasters who wanted to mock other people who said, no, this is wrong. We can't be doing this. They all need to be shamed out of existence. And we can't keep allowing these people to have the lectern and carry the voice on this stuff. Get rid of them. Law enforcement. We've been seeing what's been going on up in Minneapolis. And 2 people lost their lives last month. Probably, I would say, very unnecessarily. And the reason I say that is, had law enforcement done their job and been accountable before these incidents, neither of these 2 people would have been in a situation where their life would have been in danger that day, because they would have been arrested earlier in the day for obstruction and being a problem and interfering with the legal actions going on with the federal officers. But had the local police or police of any jurisdiction arrested these people and tried to contain them and correct their behavior before they kept going further and further and further, pushing the envelope, they wouldn't have gotten killed. They would have been arrested and taken out of the stream, and they wouldn't have been in harm's way. But it's only because they weren't arrested and they didn't do their job ahead of time. The local police, it was their job to do this, but they were told to stand down by the mayor and the governor. So had they done their job, 2 people would still be alive today, most probably. So this is where not doing your job can get people killed. Not just get them hurt like in the Olympics, or not just hurt their education like we do in the school system and pump out dumb kids who can't figure stuff out. Here's one. They had a quiz, and they asked the kids in the school, said, name a country that starts with the letter U. Kids said, Yugoslavia. Couldn't even think of the United States. no one got it right. That's a good little kid you got there, lady. Smart as a whip. The church does this too, and the church has gotten in trouble with it. I'm talking about the Catholic Church, but other churches have done it as well. They don't correct problems when it's right in front of them. They don't do their job either. They get a bad actor. They get somebody doing something improper in their community, in their parish, in their structure. They don't do anything about it. They push it down the lane a little bit, kick the can down the road. This is what happened a lot with covering up for allegedly pedophile priests, mishandling of funds of churches and stuff like that. And it also happened with Our Lady of America, in that we had a bishop in one Leonard Blair in Toledo, Ohio, didn't do his job when he was supposed to. Instead, he hired it out to two guys who came in from Indianapolis to do his dirty work in his own diocese to try to take out a woman who was portraying herself as a Catholic nun and saying that she owned all of the trademarks and copyrights and everything that went with Our Lady of America. Now, had the local bishop shut her down years ago before any of this happened, no one would have been hurt. No lives would have been destroyed by this. But instead, he took the easy way out and he let some other guys take her to court on his behalf, in a way. And it benefited him in that he didn't have a bad mark on his record, because soon after that, he got moved up to being an archbishop from a bishop. So his pay raise went up. He got a better assignment. This is what he was after. But he wouldn't have gotten that had he done his job in the first place and kept other people from getting hurt, like me and a couple of other folks. It was because he didn't do his job that I got tangled into this stuff. Had he done his job, this would have all been not an issue. But he didn't, and it became one. And it went all the way to the Supreme Court. So we have to fix things when we see the problem. We can't kick it down the road. We can't say, oh, that's okay. You have to use the broken windows policy of policing. If you take care of the crimes of breaking the windows, the bigger crimes don't happen down the line. This is easy stuff to solve. We just have to get people accountable. So let's work on that. In the meantime, I love you, and I'll be back.